Hey everybody, how you all doing? Welcome to the new normal experience. My name is Bami and I'm the founder of Inspire to Soul Limited. My passion and my mission is to help people overcome adversity by tending the broken wings of their dreams so that they can be inspired to soar above their troubles. So what if this is your first time of logging into the new normal experience? Welcome. And if you're joining me again from last week, welcome again. And thank you for joining. Today, I'm going to be making a very important announcement at the end of the program, and I'm going to be explaining the reasoning behind the announcement. But on the topic today, it's vulnerability. I'm going to be talking about vulnerability. Okay. Now, the new normal, what is a new normal experience? If this is your first time, I better define that. What's the new normal experience? The new normal experience is encouragement and inspiration for the aftermath of trauma or any adverse circumstances that you or your loved one have gone through. And one of the things I've said in this series is that I will be sharing some excerpts from my book. And I'll be showing you now. This is it now. It's called Navigating Your New Normal, a roadmap for life fulfillment after trauma. So can you see there? Sorry, I've just covered my face there. It's available on Amazon and the link is in the notes. So you'll see, you can check it out when we finish. Before I go into what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to read an excerpt from the book, as I said. Okay, so here goes. This is from chapter 1, titled The Prison I Called Home. And I used a quote there. It says, what I fear most is power with impunity. I fear the abuse of power and the power to abuse. That's a quote by Isabel Allende. Okay, so here goes. Never in a million years did I think I would tell my story in a book. However, there comes a time when you realize that the message you have is in your mess, and the gospel you must preach is in what you have gone through. My life has been a series of navigating various new normals and finding that grace abides on the other side of every storm. That is, if one survives this storm. Okay, so in my book, I've been very candid about my experiences from when I was a child and the various difficult experiences that myself and my family went through. And it was a risky move on my part because I had to what's what I'm looking for. I had to struggle. I had to wrestle within me with the thoughts of people knowing some of the deepest secrets in my family, some of my deepest pain, some of the weaknesses I have that is not on display. And I knew I ran the risk of people dismissing me or mocking me and everything. So today I'm going to be talking about what vulnerability is and what it isn't. Whenever you've gone through any difficult circumstance, any trauma, or any adversity, there comes a time where you know you have to be vulnerable because life is not perfect. And as you know, because of the experience you've gone through, your life has been blown apart by trauma, by horrible circumstances. Some of it that, hi Grace, how you doing? Some of the circumstances that people can only even begin to, that others cannot even begin to imagine. Good morning. And you wonder whether people will even understand you, whether they will think you're a fruitcake or whether they will think you're a fraud or whatever it is. So I decided to check out the dictionary definition of vulnerability. And it says, and I quote, it says, being exposed to the possibility of being vilified or mocked or something like that. And the truth of the matter is, like, for as long as we don't want to be vilified, for as long as we want people to think we're perfect. There are so many successes. There are so many mountains we will not climb. So vulnerability means that you are prepared to get it wrong. And as you will soon find out at the end of this podcast now, I will be talking about certain things that's going to be changing in terms of the way I present this new normal experience. But let's talk a bit more about what vulnerability is. Vulnerability means that you are prepared to try and try and try, even if it means you get it wrong. It means you become acquainted with the idea of failure, because true failure is when you stumble and fall and you don't get back up again. But when you stumble, when you fall, if you take it as a learning experience, learn from it, get up and move on. That is part of vulnerability, and that is part of growth. Tell me someone who has made real success and who hasn't stumbled and who hasn't failed or who hasn't been open to the possibility of ridicule. And I'll tell you someone who's not a true success. But what tends to happen is, like, when we see a lot of very successful people and everything, they will often tell us that, oh, I went through these difficult circumstances and it was tough and I did XYZ and I succeeded and I came through it, and now I'm a roaring success, and now my life is perfect. So in other words, they describe a straightforward route. But life is nothing like that. And because the new normal experience, the new normal journey, that's, as I keep saying, it is not a linear journey. It's not like, oh yes, you start from A and then you get to point B and everything is perfect at point B. No, there will be a series of ups and downs, highs and lows. And that is what that is about. But being comfortable enough to say, okay, you know what? I tried this. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't work, or maybe it wasn't good enough, or whatever it is, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try something else, or I'm going to keep going, and I'm moving on like that. That is vulnerability. So let's be very practical, because one of the things I like is being very practical. So what will vulnerability look like? Say, if you have been given a diagnosis of serious illness or you've lost a loved one. Being vulnerable would look like you admitting that you are not Superman or Superwoman. By you admitting to maybe your closest and dearest, the ones who really love you and who have got your back, that, look, you know what? I haven't got this all figured out. I don't know all the answers, but I need help. That is vulnerability. Now, what vulnerability is not. Number one, it is not an excuse for mediocrity. I will say that again. Vulnerability is not an excuse for mediocrity. What do I mean by that? It means that vulnerability is not an excuse for you to settle for less than who you are meant to be, for less than what you are meant to be achieving. In everybody's circumstance, that will vary, that will differ. But you're watching this, you're listening to me, you will know deep within you whether you are capable of more than you're doing or not. And over the last few days, I've been talking about jumping. I've been talking about doing the very thing that you are afraid to do. And it took a truth teller to call me out that even though I'd taken some brave steps, some courageous steps and everything, that a truth teller had to tell me that, look, you have not gone far enough. You are capable of so much more. And you need to open yourself up more. And that was something I had to look at. That was that was feedback I had to consider, and I had to think about. And I knew, even though it was not a comfortable thing to hear, it was not the most nicest thing for me to hear in that sense, but it was what I needed to hear, because in order for me to grow, in order for me to move on to where I'm supposed to be, to make progress and get my message out there in a better way, I needed to hear that, and I needed to be stretched. So vulnerability does not mean you settle for mediocrity. That's number one. Number two, being vulnerable is not an excuse to be insensitive. Now, let me explain this now. Yes, I know. Being vulnerable is not an excuse. See, I've seen some smiles there and everything like that, because that's from someone who knows what I'm talking about. Now, being vulnerable does not mean you are insensitive. What do I mean by that? So, exposing yourself to the possibility of being ridiculed or mocked or whatever like that, it doesn't mean that you have to be insensitive to the feelings of others. Okay, I'll give you a very practical example. Still going on about this book, okay? Navigating Your New Normal, okay? Now, because I had to talk about very painful experiences from my childhood, and I have siblings who are impacted by a lot of the things that I was impacted with, especially at least in our childhood years. And it was important for me to at least speak to them about it, because what would have been insensitive of me would have been for them to only find out about it when the book came out. Did that mean I was asking for their permission? No, I wasn't asking for permission, but I wanted them to know that I care about their feelings enough to tell them that, look, these are some of the things I'm going to be writing about. And I will do my best not to hurt feelings. I will still be authentic, but I will not do it in a callous or in a mean-spirited way, just because I want to be vulnerable, just because I want to get my message out there. So in your new normal journey, yes, you want to be vulnerable, and it is good to be vulnerable, but don't be a jerk about it. Forgive me for using that word. Don't be a jerk, and don't be insensitive. Because be mindful of those around you. Be mindful of others, not at the expense of your story, obviously, but there are ways of delivering your message. There are ways of getting your message across, getting your points across without crushing the feelings, the confidence, the self-esteem of others. And is it a difficult path to walk? Oh, most definitely it is, because in my case, I was talking about childhood abuse. I was talking about horrendous circumstances that happened in my childhood home. So was it an easy task to write about? No. And was it an easy task to write about when I knew my siblings would have to read that and everything like that? It wasn't, but at the same time, it's a story that I wanted to tell. It was my story, but I didn't have to. I didn't have to do it in a way that was insensitive. And if I do say so myself, and I've spoken to my siblings as well, they have agreed that I have not been insensitive to them in the way I wrote the story. So I'm still as vulnerable as ever, but I was aware of the feelings of others. So in your new normal journey, being vulnerable is a must if you're going to grow. Don't let anyone tell you that, oh, you have to have everything perfect like this, perfect like that, and that whether you're dealing with grief, whether you're dealing with abuse, whether you're dealing with serious illness, whatever it is that trauma of yours is, don't let people tell you that, oh, you have to have it tied up in a pretty bow and everything like that. And the other thing as well, a lot of times we are our own worst enemy, because the way we criticize, the self-criticism that we put upon ourselves, is actually a lot harder than what others put on us. So I'm going to ask you to please be kind to yourself. Cut yourself some slack. And in your being vulnerable, cut yourself some slack. Rome was not built in a day. Will you get things wrong? Yes. Will I get things wrong again and again and again? And I will come here and I will tell you when I feel that I have a message to tell you, if I know that it can help you. So with the new normal experience, here comes the important announcement that I'm about to make. And I will tell you a little bit more about what was behind my being told to make the choice about whether I am all in or all out, whether I will jump or not jump. Okay, you know, it's easier to tell others to do something very uncomfortable than it is to practice it yourself. I'm just being honest. It's easier for me to tell others to be brave and to take risks and to jump and to allow themselves to be stretched than it is for me to apply it to myself. But there comes a time in everyone's life when, or rather, there are times in everyone's life, and I'm grateful to God that those times come often, when you have truth tellers at different points of your journey who calls you out on your playing small. And that was what I got. I was called out on my playing small. So for that reason, this new normal experience this will be the last episode or broadcast or whatever you want to call it that we'll do on Facebook Live in this particular format. And here's the reason for that. I've read to you from my book, Navigating Your New Normal. Anyone who's read that book and anyone who knows me really well will know that my faith as a Christian is the bedrock of everything I do. It's what shapes my life. It's how I have survived. It's how I thrive in my new normal journey. It's how I learn about success. It's how I learn how to treat my fellow human beings and all of those things. So as a result of that, I will now start talking more about my faith in the new norm, how it applies to my new normal journey. Not just to my new normal journey, but how anyone can apply to the new normal journey. And because of this, I will be digging more into the Bible. I'll be sharing Bible verses, my opinions on that, and all of those things. And it wouldn't be on Facebook Live anymore, but in the next week, I will be telling you which format I'll be using. But needless to say that I will be doing more blogs and I will be doing more short videos, and a podcast will be in the pipeline in the next few weeks as well. What does this mean for you? For those of you who have been following the Inspired to Soul Limited page, who do not have the same beliefs as me, I will still be sharing inspiring content on this page, so that's not going to change. That will apply to anyone. But I will also be inviting you to learn from, whether I'm doing devotionals, whether I'm doing short messages, or whatever it is, whatever format I do it, I will be inviting you to listen to that, to share in that. And if you find anything, if you find things that would help you in your own journey, by all means, you can embrace that and everything. It will not be for me to tell people what to believe, because I've never been like that. It will just be me inviting you into my faith journey, my faith walk. And we're gonna be tackling some difficult topics in terms of trauma, in terms of adverse life events. You know, a lot of the things that we're squirmish about, a lot of the things that we don't want to talk about. Well, if you've read my book, which I will encourage you to, by the way, if you've read my book, you'll realize that I don't shy from difficult topics. I don't shy from talking about things that make anyone squirm. Because in my book, like I said, I wrote about things that nobody wants to talk about, especially within the cultural context in which I grew up. I also talked about things that maybe there are things that I wrote that my surgeons, when I was having treatment, my medical personnel would not necessarily agree with. But at the end of the day, it is not about them. It is about the way I've walked this journey, the way I've been given the grace to walk this journey, and how I can inspire others, how I can tend the broken wings of others who feel like because of the trauma they've gone through, they cannot really enjoy life again, or they're struggling to take the next breath that won't be painful. So I am really excited about this, even though it's been a scary thing to get into. But as the journey unfolds, I will be carrying you guys along. I will be giving you updates. I will be telling you how things go and everything like that. And I will be like I said, I want to carry you all along. So if you know anyone, and I mean anyone, it doesn't matter whether they have a faith or whether they don't have a faith, as long as they've gone through trauma and they want to go beyond mere survival, they want to go beyond a robotic existence, and they want inspiration, they want encouragement, please share this video with them, and subsequent updates I'll be given, please do share it with them. But I'm going to leave you with this now, and this is my commitment and will always be my commitment to you. I believe that no matter what you have gone through, life is for living. You are meant to thrive. What your thriving new normal looks like, it will be different to what your life was before you had the trauma, but it doesn't have to be a less fulfilling experience. It doesn't have to be any less joyous. It doesn't have to be any less impactful. In fact, I dare say that the trauma that you've gone through will end up being the making of you, as I am learning in my new normal journey. Because let's be real now. The journey, the things I'm saying to you now, the encouragement I'm giving you, the inspiration I'm giving you, there's no way I will be able to give those authentically if I hadn't gone through the trauma that I have gone through. So I stand here as living proof that the new normal experience can be a more impactful and a thriving one. And so, until the next time, be inspired to sow, be vulnerable, don't be a jerk, don't be an ass, but be inspired to sow and know that you are meant to thrive. Take care. Bye.